pollinator people. Today we are going to go over shaded pollinators. We're going to take a little patch that's been overgrown that I have a hard time planting in, especially pollinators, because one part gets sun, the other part gets really hardly any sun. But I think I found a good resource and a few good resources on where to plant and how to plant shaded pollinators. So I'm really excited to go over this process with you. We're going to do it in a two-part process. The first one will be how we are just prepping, where we went for resources, and just everything in between with that. Okay, but before we get into shaded pollinator gardening, I want to talk to you about some really exciting things we have coming up in the next month or so. We are going to dive into a local garden that one of my family members planted. And we are going to talk about not only what's in that garden, what helps it thrive, but we are going to start picking some caterpillars and basically raise our own butterflies that we are going to release into the environment. This has been something that we do in our family every year. It's been a really awesome tradition to do, not just with the grandparents, but my child. She absolutely just loves watching them hatch from the chrysalis and then releasing them. And they kind of sit on your finger for a little bit. And instead of buying something on Amazon, it's something fun you get to do for most of the summer, maybe not the entire summer, but most of it. So just wanted to let you know that is what's coming up. And until then, we're going to dive into some resources on your shaded pollinator garden. All right, so here it is. Almost too pathetic to show, but if I'm humble enough, I gotta show you that I am definitely human. And this is what my garden on the side looks like just after a summer of brutal heat and barely any rain. But I have been steadfast in watering my plants in my garden. But now it's time to shape this guy up. And now we're going to get into the thick of the weeds of this project. And I literally mean the weeds, because I have so much weeding to do with this project before I can even roadmap what I'd like to put in and where I can place it that it would best fit. But before I do that, I want to check and see if any of these weeds would be good for pollinators' natural environment. So let's take a look. At first glance, I got really excited thinking that there was clover. But after some research, I found out that this was in fact not white clover, which is what bees and pollinators naturally gravitate towards in PA. So naturally in today's world, I Google it, and it's a wood sorrel. And I'm not just Googling, I'm trying to find a reliable source. And I found Penn State Extension. So I think they're a very reliable source. And what I found is basically they do thrive. They're hard to get rid of. They're not invasive, but you can just mulch right over them. And it turns out I have many weeds, just like the rest of humanity in my yard. So we're going to get those out of here. And I used my plant identifier just to make sure that none of them were, particular to pollinators. Turns out they're not. So let's get them out of here and get working on the good stuff. And just like that, in the internet world, everything is weeded. And we're starting to shape this up. So now I can start to see where things are going to go. Now we just have to research what plants we're going to use. And another quick Google search for native plants. In this particular instance in Pennsylvania, I find, first of all, a few native plants right off the bat. If I'm doing a quick search, maybe the top 20 that you want, some bee balm, some phlox, and birch there, cardinal flower. But if I go down a little bit further, I'm going to find the Commonwealth's actual website, where this is just such an amazing landing page, quite honestly. I found this very beneficial that I put in my favorites. And now I can basically use this as my resource from here on out. I'm sure that they partner with the PA State Commission, which is amazing. They do so much work for our native plants. I love that they have native plants for landscaping on here. They have blueprints even on here for that as well. They have PDFs of what you can use in your garden, in sunny spots, in shady spots, and right there is where you can go for templates on your garden. I'm gonna scroll down here and click on the brochure of all the different trees, shrubs, and perennials that the Commonwealth basically recommends as native plants in Pennsylvania. Again, I just find this such an amazing resource, super easy to find. Unlike anything else with the government, this is really beneficial and super easy to find, like I said. And if you click on the tab that I went to before, which was the templates, it will show you these really awesome guides for how to make your own garden. And here's those templates, one for a shade dry garden, one for a butterfly garden, and one for a sunny garden. And if you really take your time with these, they have a really nice directory with them with all the different zones. So if you have time and you're really dedicated to this, you can sit down and just see exactly how they recommend you plant and the directory with what goes with that. They have the Latin name on there and also, the generic name as well. I love those guides, but for now, I'm just going to use my own research to figure out what I want to do in my own particular area at a minimal cost for right now, just with some simpler things. So what I personally decided on was using 2 Bebop bee balms. Again, that's my favorite one because I referred to that in my first video. And then also I'm going to use some asters just because they're going to bring a lot of color. And I have noticed that pollinators do absolutely love those. They're great. They will bloom a lot more in the fall. And then I do plan on getting a nice bayberry, which will also attract some hair streak butterflies. As you can see, there's this purple hair streak butterfly and then also this green butterfly as well. He is just magical. I find him whimsical and magical, and when gardening is at its best, I think that everything is just those 2 words. So that's all I have for you today on this whimsical and magical episode of The Hippie Planter. Until next time, peace, love, flowers, and pollinators, and we'll see you soon.